There's a major update on the two fires burning simultaneously along the Big Sur coast, and things have shifted fast in just the last 12 hours. A red flag warning has now been issued for both fires, with a genuinely rare threat included in that warning: lightning. New evacuation orders just went out because of increased fire activity. And a single unified command team has now taken over both incidents at once. Here's everything that's changed. One command team now running both fires. The biggest structural change since our last update: California Interagency Incident Management Team 3 has officially assumed command of both the Timber Fire and the Plaskett Fire simultaneously. Rather than two separate command structures coordinating with each other, there's now a single team directing the response across both incidents, sharing aircraft, personnel, and strategy across the entire stretch of coast. The cause of both fires remains under investigation. Fire behavior on both is being driven by low relative humidity and dry fuels, and crews remain in a full suppression strategy, with aircraft continuing to drop water and retardant across both fire zones. Red flag warning, and lightning is the threat. This is the most important new development. A red flag warning has been issued covering both the Timber and Plaskett fire areas, and it specifically flags the potential for lightning alongside erratic winds. Lightning is a genuinely unusual and serious addition to fire weather warnings on the California coast, since it raises the real possibility of brand new ignitions breaking out in already fire-stressed terrain, on top of the two incidents crews are already fighting. Officials are describing conditions as hot, dry, and unstable, with the potential for erratic fire behavior and sudden changes in movement on both fires. Operational priorities remain firefighter and public safety, structure defense, containment, and limiting further spread. But with lightning now in the forecast, crews are bracing for the possibility that today could bring entirely new fire starts along this same corridor. Plaskett Fire, new evacuations as activity increases. The Plaskett Fire, burning in the Plaskett area of Big Sur, roughly 25 to 30 miles south of the Timber Fire, remains active and growing. As of this morning, it had reached 140 acres with no containment, and by this afternoon, officials issued new evacuation orders and warnings, specifically because of increased fire activity. This fire started just after 11 a.m. Wednesday, off Forest Road 23S10 near the community of Plaskett, and grew to about 100 acres within its first few hours. 9 aircraft have been assigned to support ground operations, working in the same steep, difficult-to-access terrain that's made the neighboring Timber Fire such a grinding fight. Resources originally assigned to Timber are continuing to be redirected to help establish containment on this fire, a clear sign of how seriously officials are treating this second ignition, even as it remains relatively small in acreage compared to its neighbor. Timber Fire, now the third largest fire in California this year. The Timber Fire, burning since the night of August 8th in the Los Padres National Forest, has grown to 19,296 acres and stands at 21 to 23% contained, depending on the most recent mapping update. That acreage has pushed this fire past both the Elephant Fire and the Santa Rosa Island Fire on California's list of largest fires this year, making it the third largest fire burning in the state right now, behind only the Bug Fire in Sierra and Lassen counties and one other major incident. New evacuation orders issued this week expanded the affected area to roughly 150 square miles, a substantial territory for a single fire's evacuation footprint. Hundreds of structures remain threatened. Fire managers have continued warning that hot, dry weather, low humidity, and gusty afternoon winds could increase fire activity further, a warning that's now been formalized into today's red flag conditions. Highway 1 closure tightens even further. The highway situation along this stretch of coast keeps getting more restrictive. Highway 1 remains closed through the Timber Fire zone, from the area near the Big Sur Bakery on the north end down to Julia Pfeiffer Burns State Park to the south. As of Thursday, officials moved to close that stretch to all non-emergency traffic entirely, tightening access even further right as the Plaskett Fire adds a second active incident to the same corridor just south of the existing closure. For a region that depends almost entirely on this single two-lane highway for evacuation, emergency access, and basic movement in and out, having two separate active fire incidents affecting the same road at the same time is about as serious as this kind of situation gets for local access and safety. What this means for residents and visitors. If you're anywhere near the Plaskett area, take the newly issued evacuation orders and warnings seriously. Officials issued them specifically because fire activity has increased, not as a precautionary measure. If you're in a warning zone rather than a mandatory order zone, don't wait for it to escalate before you start preparing. Have a bag packed and know your route, since Highway 1 remains the only way out of most of this stretch of coast. If you're anywhere near either fire and you're not a resident with an active reason to be in the corridor, do not attempt to drive Highway 1 through Big Sur right now. Emergency crews need that road clear. Air operations are active overhead in multiple spots, and with a red flag warning now including lightning risk, conditions can shift with very little notice. A unified command team now running both fires, a red flag warning that includes lightning for the first time in this story, and new evacuation orders issued just today because fire activity is increasing. This remains a genuinely fast-moving, dangerous situation along one of California's most iconic and most vulnerable coastlines. We'll keep tracking both fires closely and post updates as new containment numbers, evacuation changes, and highway status updates come in. If this helped, subscribe and turn on notifications, and share this with anyone who lives in or is planning to travel through Monterey County. To the hotshot crews, engine companies, and aviation personnel working two fires at once in some of the toughest terrain in the state, thank you. To everyone under evacuation orders or warnings along the Big Sur coast tonight, please don't wait to leave if you're told to go. Stay safe out there.